Okay, so time for storm. I actually thought about not doing this. Number one, I thought I would do it with my main account, but then I'm thinking I might as well do it with this account. See how it goes for a first timer who has collected most everything. I realized after I started this and did it that I forgot to go back and get my prairie emote that I lost in Wasteland. And I never got the man to call emote. So there are two elders I'm not going to be able to finish the constellations for, plus the Wasteland. So anyway, that's okay because I didn't want their hair anyway. The only reason now to collect emotes, go through storm, is to upgrade your cape power. And of course you don't have to collect every emote to do so, because eventually you're going to upgrade your cape power just by revisiting the emotes you've already visited, regardless of whether it's all of them. So collecting every single emote is no longer really necessary. It's never really been necessary other than to use it. Manticore, obviously, like I said, you do need for in another area. Though, you know, ultimately you don't really need it at all. So I was a little nervous about this, though I've been through it with 3 cape power wedges, so I'm not usually big. I usually go through this in small mode, chibi mode, but obviously I don't have the chibi mask. It's not even available in this version of the game at this time. So I had no option other than to go big. I just feel slow. Now, turns out I did fine, except for right here. I just feel like I'm a huge target. And as you'll see, I'm going to get smacked right here. Ooh, ow. Dang, didn't take too much of my cape power. Now here is where cape power, you can see if you look at my cape meter up there, when I get hit, I lose power very quickly, those wedges. Down here is just timing the wind, just like Journeys in the snow level in Journey. Just timing the wind. You have these pauses, you can get to a somewhat safe place. In earlier versions of the game, none of this was safe. It was really frustrating. Now it's a little safer. I still kind of wish the graphic, if they're going to keep this, the graphics would be improved where things don't look so unsolid, other than the rocks when they hit you. How that much wind is blowing boulders and not blowing me, I don't know. It's doing nothing other than impeding my progress forward. So we have krill up here, dark creatures. And one was added down below. He was added after a bit. He was not originally there. If you just race right through this, you can get up this ramp perfectly fine. I go through a little more. I've made a little more comment in previous videos, so it's hard for me to remember what I've said before and repeat it. This section of the game, of the level, was not in the original Storm when it was first introduced back in March 2018. When it was introduced, people loved it. This whole part it was challenging and kind of fun. Dark material wasn't here. This gate tube was open. Now what's funny is usually there's a gate over the opening up there, and I don't know if I connected to somebody briefly who was already here and opened it, but it's open for me, so I didn't have to go down and open it, which is kind of convenient. Usually this is closed. Original Storm, this was open. The original introduction of this area was open. So there's the door button down there that you have to go down and hit to open the gate, and then the crabs fall down in there, and you have to get back out without getting hit by the crabs. So anyway, it was all, didn't have to do any of that because somebody opened it for me, or maybe it's open now. The original storm started, you went through the door after vault, which was, closed, sent us back to aviary. And the original storm, without the scenery here, started up in here somewhere. I'm looking at views. So it probably started right about here. You were just dropped in, it was dark, you didn't have the rocks and the tube and all this stuff. You just had darkness. And then you had to run across to this thing. And this is where I remember seeing, one of the first things I remember seeing in Storm was this here, once you'd already run a bit. But the whole first part up to here was not in the game at all. That was all added. So this is where you started Storm, right in this windy area. You can see some frozen soldiers, statues with darkness enveloping them. You can see one right there to the right of this thing I'm behind. Again, we're just timing the wind. Those two are fairly easy. This one's a little hard. The tendency is to climb this structure, but you're really exposed there. So I just climb these little steps here, wait for the wind to die down, then jump up and run. This is the longest run so far, and little hairy. I'm speeding through this. I can't even keep up with myself. You even start to anticipate the wind dying because you just kind of know the timing. This hallway was really short in the beginning. Now it's much longer. I like how it gets quiet. Suddenly all you hear is your footsteps. I just, that it's very eerie how that works. I'm gonna have to go back and die just to show what it looks like. Because I'm pretty sure the death scene is different, but it may not be different enough to really care about, and maybe it's something best left experienced. How about I show how to survive, and you can figure out how to die. I might do it just out of curiosity. I don't see much point of keeping this character once she's been through Eden Storm. The original name was Eye of Eden. Okay, now, this is really hard to strategize, but you could kind of wait for it to kind of look at how it's falling. And if you see red on the ground, you want to avoid the red. So you'll see red in the water, and you want to avoid that. So if you see red ahead of you, don't go. But just kind of look at where it is. You can see it on the left there. There's red right along there, so don't go. Now, granted, it's hard to time, because all of a sudden I'm going, and suddenly there's red all around me, and I'm smashed. But you can kind of see that once I saw that red is when I got hit. Some people are getting caught in that red and just getting hammered. I did not experience that. I don't think that was my worst run, though. I think I got a run where I lost almost all my flame. And you can see, as I get hit, I lose my cape power. So I'm charging back up, but that cape power is my protection. So the more cape power I have, the better. So I'm going to make another run for it. There's red on my left. I don't like to get too near these little statues here because they used to catch you and get you stuck in the old version of Storm. The other thing that protects you, and you won't see it happen because it didn't happen to me in this, is your emote, blue stamps on your emotes. Because if you get hit with no flame, and no flame left, no cape power left, and you get hit, you will lose emotes. Once you get down to 3 or 4 emotes left, once you get down to probably 6 or 7 emotes left, you're dying. And 2 or 3, and you're 3 or 4, 2 or 3, somewhere in there, you're done. You're dead. So the more blues you have, the more you have to lose. That's how it's protection. And this, I think, was no, it wasn't even. I'm pretty sure I had one where I came down to almost no flame. Maybe it's the next one. I just did this. You'd think I'd remember. So I'm charging back up, and I keep not sure which side I have to go on. That side. And they light up kind of one by one, I think, as you get near each one. There's no lighting effect anymore on the shrine, so you don't have to touch it anymore. So I'm just going to run from... This is the one I think I got smashed on. One hit. Ow. And see, I'm already down to just flame. Almost nothing left. I was pretty sure I was dead on this one. Not dead, but going to lose stuff. And I managed to make it without losing anything. But see, once you're gray like that, your next hit is going to take emotes. See, because you just have that flame is protecting you and keeping you with energy through the barrage. So charging up. There's my next one. And I'm trying to time it. See, it looks really light, then you step out in it and it just grows. And this one you get on pavement at least. And see how, since I have cape power, those hits weren't actually knocking me down. Once I lose cape power or get low on cape power, the hits knock you down. Okay, this is the final stretch. This is typically the hardest one. You don't see the red on the ground anymore. That doesn't mean it's good. I'm just trying to see if I can see a break. Yeah, that was a big heavy one. So right after the heavy one, I'm going to go. And got knocked down. Sometimes, most of the time, I get knocked down 3 or 4 times on this run. And that's it. That's Storm. That was all of it. That looked deceptively easy. It's not that easy, especially when you're new and you don't know. The trick is to keep moving as much as you can, avoid the red as much as you can, and run straight for your goal. Phew, done. So now we get to return our light and do it all over again. So many plop candles in this area. I'm looking at the constellations that you can't quite see yet. And the one up there that's the sky, kind of the sky image, a friend's image. Okay, so we return the light. No longer threatened by darkness. That little message refers to, hasn't been updated for this current way. I'm not sure why I'm having a skip button down there. I've never been through this before. But that message, returning the light to and protecting it, kind of more refers to how it used to be that you could no longer lose the emotes now once you've protected them in Storm once. And then every time you return to Storm after you visited emotes, you upgraded your emotes in the next life. And then you could then protect the upgrades. Now you can't lose emotes or upgrades in the course of the game in Wasteland or Storm. So that message has kind of changed meaning. All Storm accomplishes now is getting here to do rebirth, and basically you're turning in your blue stamps. All my emotes are going to be yellow again. No stamps on them. I collect the stamps again. See, all yellow. Collect the stamps again, and my cape will upgrade. That's about it. My cape charge. I'll grow more wedges of cape power. And that's really it. So after, I think in 2 playthroughs you can get to 6 wedges. Maybe you'll only gain 1 more, but I think you'll gain 2, plus the cape power blessings you get from friends, and There may be no real reason to do Storm more than once, other than to help other people through it the first time. So, I don't know. It seems kind of pointless. But I don't know. We'll see what they do with it. So I realized here that I could not complete the prairie or the mountains or the wasteland constellations. So it was like, oops. 3 emotes I didn't collect. 1 I couldn't collect because it was not in the game. Bad camera angle for the moonrise. Sunrise, I don't know, it has the sun dog, so I don't know. The wasteland emote is not in the game, so you can't finish that constellation. But I just realized that I didn't go back and collect the waving emote again that I lost in wasteland when I was doing my little testing of whether I would lose an emote or a blue stamp. But I can buy the hair I'd really want anyway. All I can't do now is buy their hair. This is the only hair I want. The only reason to buy the vault hair, the vault ancestor hair, is because forever it was not available in the game. So I never wear it. So I didn't bother with it. Now I look like a little troll. The other nice thing about this area is you can fly forever. It's infinite flight until you get to a certain level, altitude, basically. Then you do lose cape power by flying. There's the constellations. So none of this has changed since, this has not changed since the beginning. Storm has changed since the beginning, though not much. The last part that we just went through was actually easier than it used to be. It used to be much harder because you didn't have all those places to warm up and rest. You pretty much, for the last half of that area, you were just running. So it's an improvement as far as ease. Not everybody is finding it easy. I think many of us who are finding it easy are just the ones who went through the old one so many times. So that's the emote I'm missing is wave. In here I tapped the wrong one, but in here the emote I'm missing is, no, not that one, Manticore, that one. And in here the emote I'm missing is the kneeling down emote. So then I'm going to go on to Rebirth. Further areas under construction. I think that is actually the ending we saw briefly of flying through space and seeing all your friend names. Abilities can be secured in the next life. Doesn't make any sense anymore. You're about to be reborn. And that is that. We wake up on the beach again. In my long dreads. And we start all over.